Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Exploring Hogwarts Legacy. Today we are just going to do a flyover of the castle and the grounds. We're starting down by the boathouse here. We're going to do a couple circles just to get all of the details of the outside of the castle here. We're going to start. You have the option to fly on your broom or I can't remember the name of the hippogriff that I have in my collection, but if you have access to a broom, you can get on it and start flying around here. Like I said, we are just at the base of the castle here by the boathouse. Here's an overview, very, very similar to the film model. Very few differences. There's the Great Hall there. It is winter, and hopefully the snow dies down by the time we really get going towards the castle. But we're going to start by the Great Hall. So here's the entrance corridor, or I always say corridor, I mean courtyard. Here's the entrance courtyard here. We've talked about that in depth in our first video, but just a lot more layers and tiers to it than there are in the film model. Outside the Great Hall here, you have these turrets and parapets and all sorts of castle terminology that I'm going to butcher the actual meaning of if I try to get detail surrounding it. But we'll circle around here. It's got this rounded back that it doesn't have in the film model, but cool stained glass motif with Slytherin, Ravenclaw, Gryffindor, and Hufflepuff that you don't see in the films. Walkway around the side of the castle here. And real quick, before we circle back around to the front of it, I want to dip down and show you guys underneath the Great Hall, there is this cool little grotto area that you can access on a broom. You can also swim to it, but a little challenging to get to based on the creatures that surround it. I can't enter well mounted. Okay, so I'm going to get off my broom real quick, and we're going to swim into this grotto here. And this is directly under the Great Hall, just kind of this cool stone-looking area. You at one point break through this wall, and it's basically just a secret storage area. Nothing really major in here. And I still can't use my broom. If you see in the bottom left-hand side, there's like that no bird icon. That basically tells you don't have access to flight in this area. You can't fly inside the castle. You can't fly in Hogsmeade at all. There's a pretty significant barrier around the city or around the town that you can't use your broom. But now that we're out here, there is the White Tomb Island. You can kind of see it out in the distance. The air is a little blue with the weather here, but it looks like the snow is kind of letting up. So this side of the castle, there's the caretaker's office that I haven't found access to. I don't know if you can access it in this game, but that's essentially the Great Hall area here. Now, I will also fly over, or let's fly through the quad real quick. So you go down here and there's this huge doorway to the quad, which is film accurate. The quad, we've already been through here. It's got this massive tree in the middle, which you don't see in the films. I mentioned when we did explore the quad, it's got a lot more tiers, a lot more levels to it than the film model. The film model, we never see it in the films, but it's basically just a stone floor with no doors leading off. There is only one door from the quad that leads into the castle. But then there's this other door that leads to the Great Hall Garden area, as I have been calling it. It's this massive garden area on the back side of the Great Hall. That door leads into the Great Hall there. I'm not entirely sure what this tower is here. We don't have access to it on the inside, do we? Let me just double check. Oh, we do. It's only got a level 1 lock. What is in here? Sorry. I know this is supposed to be a flyover video, but I have never actually noticed that tower before, so I'm glad we're doing this. Open it up by matching up these dials, and it should pop real quick. Maybe this is hinted to be the caretaker's hut or the caretaker's office. My gear slots are full. Okay, yeah, I have no idea what this area is here, but interesting. So this is like a side chamber to the Great Hall. But anyways, let's stick to the outside. I noticed that when we were flying over, and I had never seen that before. So glad we did. But again, this is that garden on the back side of the Great Hall. This is the roof, or I guess the ceiling of the Hufflepuff Common Room. The Hufflepuff Common Room is essentially right underneath this garden, which is also book accurate. Now, let's focus on the quad towers here. So one thing to note, or an interesting thing to note, is it's a quad, so there are 4 sides to it, and I do apologize for my camera. When you're on the broom, you can't really use your perspective to circle around very much, which is a little frustrating. But one corner of the quad is going to be the Grand Staircase Tower, which is accurate for the film model. Not quite for the books, but that's a completely different story. Up top here, this is going to be the headmaster's office, which I still don't have access to. It's a very specific mission that you have to go on, which I don't have access to. There's a better look at the lake there with the island that we mentioned earlier and some of the hamlets and towns south of Hogwarts. But this is the Grand Staircase Tower here. Now, over the quad, moving more towards the bell towers and the older half of the castle, this is Ravenclaw Tower. So this looks a little different than the film model. It doesn't have this extended back the way that it does in the game here, but Ravenclaw Tower is hinted to be in this area. So that book and film accurate. I mentioned in the Ravenclaw video that there is this little rooftop garden, and we don't have access to land here. This is Ravenclaw's only, so I can't get off my broom here. But and my Ravenclaw character doesn't have access to it because you have to use level 1 Alohomora. But this is the top of the Ravenclaw Common Room here. You do have access to it as a Ravenclaw character if you do have that Alohomora unlocked. We'll circle around here, Ravenclaw Tower. Now, here's one of the interesting, I guess you could call it a divergence from the books or the films, I guess. So I believe in the films, this tower over here, diagonal, kitty corner to, or perpendicular, I don't know what your local lexicon is for it. This tower here is Gryffindor Tower in the films, off of the Grand Staircase Tower. But in this game, Gryffindor Tower is actually this far tower here. And you access it, and I know that both from the access on the inside and also this little motif, you can't quite see it, but at the bottom of that stained glass, there is a little red motif going on to kind of hint that this is Gryffindor Tower. So that leaves this last tower kind of open to interpretation, because on the inside you don't have access to it. It doesn't go anywhere. It's just kind of this empty tower. Now, the faculty tower, where all the teachers' bedrooms are, and private areas, that is this middle section here. So in the film model, it's kind of hinted to only be the hospital wing. The hospital wing is this top level here, but this whole tower that it's connected to in the center of the quad is the faculty tower. And then, of course, you go across either of these bridges, and it's going to lead you to the clock tower. I don't believe the lower bridge is part of the film model, but this upper bridge is. We'll circle around the quad one more time before we circle around the clock tower. So this is the outside of the quad again. There's that connecting hallway from the Great Hall, between the Great Hall and the Grand Staircase Tower. In front here is the viaduct area, and then we'll dip down. This is that tiered bridge I talked about, this top level. You have access to the central hall from both the Slytherin dungeons, which is the lower entrance, and the Ravenclaw Tower, which is the upper entrance. I believe in the film model there's only one level to this bridge. And then down here you'll see windows that I believe are implied to be the Slytherin common room. And I can't remember exactly where they are here. They might be in this direction here. If we go all the way down here, will we see those Slytherin windows? I know there are Slytherin windows, trust me. I'm not just making that up, and there's that grotto again. So we must have missed him. I must have flown straight by him. But then if we circle around toward the clock tower then, this is the covered bridge that they added in Prisoner of Azkaban, the film. Doesn't exist in the books anywhere. Clock tower doesn't exist in the books anywhere. But like I mentioned in my past video when we explored it, Alfonso Cuarón used it to visually express the motif of time passing for Harry in the third film. That is that clock tower courtyard and the wooden bridge that Neville blows up in the 8th film. This leads down to, in the Prisoner of Azkaban, Hagrid's hut is down in this direction. That's not Hagrid's hut. That is part of kind of the village south of Hogwarts here. Hagrid's hut is actually back over in that direction on the grounds. There's the owlery there. There's a little bridge over there that we'll fly by, but we'll do a quick circle around the clock tower. And underneath the lower bridge that connects Gryffindor Tower to the clock tower. This lake isn't here. I mentioned in an earlier video that lake is not there in the film model. It is just kind of an empty valleyway. And then we'll fly under the bridge here. You can't fly through the beams, but you can fly underneath that gap there. And then one more time over the clock tower here. Now let's fly real quick over to the owlery. There's this bridge that leads there from the covered tower, which is kind of cool. And I can't fly under it for some reason, which sucks. But a lot more water in this game than there is in the films, which I do like. See owls circling around the owlery there. There at the far end is the kind of the sundial area where Hermione punches Draco Malfoy in the third film. And that is the entire southern portion of the castle that we just explored there. So there's Hagrid's hut there, more on the grounds of Hogwarts. There's the Quidditch pitch we'll explore at the end of this video. Next section, let's check out, is the Defense Against the Dark Arts wing. So this right here is the West Tower. At the base of this tower, when you go up those stairs, is going to be my favorite part of the castle. It's that section, kind of that exit area, entrance area with the trees motif in the columns, centaurs on the tapestries. I really like the design of the West Tower here. And then underneath it, this is, or not that area specifically, that's more the Transfiguration wing, but this wing here is the History of Magic section. We'll come back to that when we circle around it. But this is the Defense Against the Dark Arts Tower as we see in the films. I think we see it specifically as the Defense Against the Dark Arts Tower for the first time in, I want to say, Prisoner of Azkaban as well. A lot of the exterior shots of the castle that we see to establish where things are in the castle, we see in Prisoner of Azkaban. So Defense Against the Dark Arts is going to be in this lower area here, and Charms as well. And then as we get up to the top, it is going to become the Totus Magnus. Room of Requirement is up there, which is book accurate, as well as the Astronomy Tower at the very, very top. Circling around in this direction, there we see more of that quad, the backside of Ravenclaw Tower there. And then as we get to the backside here, this is that bridge that I mentioned in an earlier video that doesn't really exist in the films. Basically, this is all one section of the castle in the film model. It's not disconnected the way it is here. This is the central hall area we'll explore after we do a quick circle around of the Defense Against the Dark Arts area. This is the Transfiguration Courtyard. Transfiguration Classroom is just underneath those doors there. But then, of course, like I mentioned, this is the History of Magic area, the library area, and then the bell towers on our right. This is the grounds area, that massive circular courtyard. This is that Accio game that I can't remember the name of. And then we'll circle around real quick through the broken walls. And this is the Quidditch pitch. So Quidditch, there's no access to Quidditch in the game yet. I'm guessing they'll add it as a DLC later on. If we haven't explored this in a video yet, I can't remember if the grounds video ever got uploaded. There were some audio issues with the grounds video. So hopefully that will be up very soon. But yeah, Quidditch does not exist. In storyline reasons, basically the headmaster banned it for the year because of the Goblin Rebellions. But which kind of sucks. But like I said, I bet you they're going to add it as a DLC later on. So History of Magic area here. What are the stained glass on those windows real quick? Those are, let's say Merlin. I think it says Merlin. This is going to be the flying teacher's quarters. I can't remember her name in this game. In Harry Potter's years, of course, it's Madame Hooch. That's her area there with the storage units on the bottom. Bell towers here. Oh, if I can turn my camera. There we go. The dual bell towers here, you have access to them. You can check out our exploration of those in our bell tower video. Circle around, there's the entrance to the bell tower area there. Greenhouse is on the back side. A hedge dragon, don't think that's a real dragon. Don't let it confuse you. That is a topiary, I guess would be the right word. But of course it's magic, so it's moving. The greenhouse is one massive building with individual greenhouses on the inside. You can check out our earlier video for that. The library is hidden in one of these areas here. And we circle around the greenhouse on this side, and then we're going to enter the viaduct entrance on this side. So that is essentially the entire castle. Let's do one quick circle around the central hall portion of the castle, and then we'll do one big circle around the whole castle before we come to a close. So like I said, it's a little tough to move your camera perspective wise while you're on a broomstick, but sitting on top of these cliffs, you have all of the walls of the castle here. There's that central hall area. Central Tower. We don't have access to Central Tower. It doesn't really exist in this game. In the books, it's hinted that that could possibly be the location of Ravenclaw Tower, that big tower there, but obviously it's different in this game. Another quick look on the outside there. And we'll swoop into this grounds lake here and circle underneath the suspension bridge. It's like Harry being chased by the dragon. I've mentioned like 3 times in the videos. And then underneath this bridge here. And then also underneath the viaduct here. So Hogsmeade is off in that direction there. Here's one last look at the castle as a whole. With the weather right now and the lighting, it does really look like that opening shot from the Sorcerer's Stone movie, which is kind of cool. So I'm doing my best to move my camera, but it's really not liking me while I'm on this broom. So that is all for this video, I think. Thank you guys very much for being a part of this series. Stay tuned for more. We're going to do a little more in-depth view, one last overall look through the castle, anything we missed, especially with those level 2 and level 3 locks, the faculty tower, that sort of thing. And then we're also going to explore the grounds, Hogsmeade, all of the other villages and hamlets that surround just the greater world in this game. So stay tuned for that. More Harry Potter content you can find in the link on your bottom right hand of your screen. But in the meantime, we will see you very, very soon.